Welcome to Liz's Book Reviews. This week we're doing My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, a bitch with 3 first names, so you cannot trust her. If I had to tell you the main character's name, it would probably be Vanessa. You would be right. What, Vanessa? So Vanessa goes back and forth telling us about what she was like as a teenager and then what she's like now in her, I think she's in her early 30s. So in her teen years, it's where it starts in 2000, I think, and then it jumps forward to 2017. It goes back and forth. In 2000, she's going to boarding school. Driving distance from her family, but she lives on campus. And that's great. She's pretty much a loner. She makes one friend, and then her friend dates a boy, and then they stop being friends. High school, am I right?
Is it like the girl's fault, or is the boy like manipulative and controlling?
I mean, it's really like not an important plot. The only plot point is that now she's back to being a loner.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Second year of school. Now she's a sophomore. She loner, chicken dinner, and she she gets a single room. So that's obviously not good for her because she has no friends, and she ends up actually.
Blessing in disguise, though?
Kind of. We'll see. So she has her own room. She's living in a house and it's like a dorm house, and they have like a dorm mother who's like a young woman. Her ex-best friend also lives in the house, so they have to run into each other, and it's awkward sometimes. Her name is Jenny. Anyways, Vanessa, let's call her Nessa. Nessa has a teacher for her writing class. She loves this writing class. Writing is her favorite thing. She wants to be a poet. This teacher, Jacob Strain, but she pretty much exclusively refers to him as Strain. S-T-R-A-N-E, not A-I. Anyways, Strain. Jacob Strain. I'm not going to put it delicately. Predator. Pedophile. Okay. Straight up pedo. He grooms her so well.
Well, that's the word you want to use?
I know, it's a bad word. I mean, let's say it, from a predator's eyes, fabulous job at grooming. He did so much grooming. It was bad. The point is, it's bad. But Vanessa, you see, she, in order to cope, and you realize this as she goes into the future version of herself, the biggest thing that helps her cope is looking at her relationship with Strain through a lens of a love story. So when she talks about the first time they touch, the first time they kiss, the first time they have sex, the first time she goes to his house, all these things, she does it through the lens of a love-struck girl and not of a victim.
Sure.
And he has trained her, essentially, and used it almost like a game, like, I dare you not to tell. She's like, I'll never tell. He knows that he's going to get caught one day, but he knows that it's not going to be because of Vanessa.
What's that mean?
Because he is that confident in how much work he put into grooming her. Wow. Yeah.
So he thinks he's going to get, like, somebody's going to see them or something?
He only thinks he knows that when Vanessa gets older, he's going to try and find more girls to groom. But
because he's a pedophile. He's not in love with Vanessa. He
might have been in love with Vanessa because
when she was a child.
But as time goes on, she and Vanessa and Strain actually stay in contact.
Really?
Yeah, for years. In fact, before he dies, he calls her right before he dies. She's the last person he talks to, and even after he's passed away, she still looks at their relationship through the lens of a love story, even though she's in her 30s at this point. And mind you, 2017 was when the movement started, the Me Too movement. So there was a lot of social pressure to come forward, to back other women's stories, to believe victims. And there was also this whole idea that if you don't say something, you're bad, which is not the correct methodology. You can't tell a victim how to behave, and there's no way to predict how a victim will behave because we were all completely different people who were victimized. So expecting a victim to behave A, B, or C way, and they behave Z.
Yeah, everybody's different and everybody's different.
And Vanessa is very different. She is not what you would, quote unquote, expect from a victim. Eventually it comes out that this woman, Taylor, wrote an article about Strain and about how he abused her. And she's a few years younger than Vanessa. Crazy, right? And Vanessa is obsessed with this article. Strain hears about it. He goes up for investigation at the school, which he still works at. Yeah. And the Taylor tries to reach out to Vanessa. The publicist tries to reach out to Vanessa saying, hey, we want you to be a part of this. And she's like, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't know what you think you know. Just always sticks to the denying.
The narrative of his, like, we were in love.
No, doesn't even tell people that. Deny to anyone else.
Nothing. At all.
Nothing. She's like, nothing ever happened. I don't know what you're talking about.
No shit.
But the rumor was so strong and so powerful that it followed her around her entire life. And she denied it. And so did he. Eventually, and when she was a child, right, so let's go back to the boarding school, during this relationship with Strain, Jenny, her old friend, they were on a class trip and Strain grabbed Vanessa in front of the school bus. And Jenny saw. Jenny came up to her and said, I know what he did to you. We can make this better. Jenny talked, and Vanessa said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
That's where the denial began. Jenny then goes to her father and says, hey, this is what's going on. The father writes a letter to the school, and the school does something about it. They put him under investigation. Now Strain, because he's a fucking scumbag, before he even touched Vanessa for the first time, had wrote a memo to the administration saying that this girl had a crush on him. And that if anything were to ever get out of hand, he wanted to have a paper trail. So this man, before he even touched her, had an escape plan.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. What eventually happens is she gets pulled into a room with one of the students who says that she told me directly. And then Vanessa goes, I lied. So the teacher says all the students who have heard this rumor, you have to now stand in front of and tell them that you lied, and then you will voluntarily withdraw from school. So she was kicked out.
Right.
She was kicked out. She was made to be the villain, even though she was the victim of a sexual predator who still very much so kept his job.
That's wild.
No investigation was ever done. So now, fast forwarding, 17 years.
Sure.
He's finally under investigation again. Many women are coming forward saying that he's abused them in some way. And she still feels like what they had was special.
Right.
He dies. Naturally. She starts going to therapy, which is really good for her. The therapist, I think, is probably the best character in the entire story because although it was the smallest part, the things that she said to Vanessa were powerful. That there's no correct way for Vanessa to act.
Right.
That she's not a villain because she doesn't want to talk about her story, even though she's being pressured to do so.
Sure.
A lot of wonderful things that the therapist says, and she never acts shocked. Even though Vanessa's like, we were in love, I was never raped by Strain, even though she was.
Yeah. It's in her own mind, she was a consenting child. And that's, yeah.
Even when you read the detailed description of the first time they have sex, she cried the whole time.
Jesus
and
fuck.
He didn't stop, so it doesn't really seem very consensual.
Never mind.
But she convinced herself it was consensual, even though she was crying.
Oh my god.
That the therapist never acts shocked, which I think is just wonderful. Eventually, as time goes on, because she has lived with Strain kind of as this dark shadow over her whole life, it marked her, and it dictated so much of her future and failure. And this rumor followed her for years and years, over a decade, that when he finally died, she didn't know who she was anymore. Because she didn't have this man behind her eyes defining her.
She defined herself by their relationship.
Yep. She defined herself by their relationship. So, it ends really nicely. She gets a dog. And she's like, I'm not good. I'm actually really bad. But at least I'm realizing that. So I think it's like a really interesting tale of like just how deep and dark abuse can be. Just how deep and dark abuse can be, especially for a child.
Take it from interesting tale.
It's interesting. My Dark Vanessa, very good. I would give it 4 out of 5 clams. 4 out of 5 clams right here. It was fucked up, man. The writer, Ms. Russell, I wouldn't be surprised if this happened to her. That's how well.
Jesus.
That's how well she wrote it.
I mean, yeah, I get it. There's a lot of people write books about killing people. They never killed anybody.
Yeah, but it's fucked. It's fucked. It's super fucked up. I love fucked up books. Y'all know me. I love fucked up books. I think that she did a great job. The alternating between the past and the present was a really great way to watch the storyline unfold, as like the parallels from her past met with the parallels of her future, or present rather, and how the ending isn't really happy. I respect that, because after surviving something so tragic, you aren't just fucking fine. And I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the most honest way to end a book like this. So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give it 4 clams and a pearl. That's about 4.5. Because I thought it was that good. Hell yeah. My Dark Vanessa would recommend. This has been Liz's book review.